Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Crime and Entertainment. And we have here today a very special guest. I've been waiting for this interview for quite a while. We finally was able to get it mapped out so I could get him on the show. Please welcome. Let me do that again. 3, 2. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Crime and Entertainment. Now we have here today a very special guest. I've been waiting for a while to get him on the show, and I'm glad we could go ahead and get this thing knocked out because he's got a great, great story for you guys. Please welcome to the show, Anthony Arillotta. How you doing, my friend?
What's up, Wade? Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now you've got a very interesting story, and for people that aren't in depth in the way the mob works and some of the inner workings of it, yours is even more intriguing because you're from Boston, but yet you were made into the Genovese crime family in New York. Now that in itself is that a rarity? Because I haven't heard of too many cases of that happening.
Well, there's a faction of the Genovese family in Massachusetts,
Right.
so it's a rarity that what happened with me, getting my button in New York City by the bosses, by bosses in New York City of the Genovese family. That's a rarity. Usually, what they do is the crew where you're from, they would have the captain, which is a boss in the area, straighten you out where he's from. Like they got a crew in New Jersey, a crew down in Florida, a crew in Western Mass, Connecticut. So usually they would have other guys got straightened out and got made, and they were made into the family in the areas that they're from. Like in our area, it's Western Mass.
Okay. So whenever you grew up, like was your father in organized crime, or did you have that element around in your home, or did it was just something you kind of grew up around? I'm sure there were wise guys in your neighborhood, and those guys are usually easy to spot, from what I understand.
Correct. Yeah, it was just growing up around organized crime is pretty much going to school at a young age, having some family members somewhat involved. Not my father. My father was a hard worker, had his own little fruit and produce, wine grape, Italian uh, store.
Mhm.
But yeah, just growing up around it, organized crime, the city, it was a heavily Italian area that we grew up in. A lot of immigrants from Italy coming over, and organized crime was talked about amongst us at a young age. Being in school, whose fathers might have been made guys or around made guys, and so it was just something that we grew up knowing heavily about the existence, the presence of it being in our area.
Okay. So, like, what kind of led you into that life? Like, did it start out? I know you said I've listened to some interviews you've had, and you said you were a gambler, a heavy gambler. Did that have anything to do with it? What kind of led you into starting with that life?
No, the gambling, I didn't lead me into it. I was a heavy gambler, but that didn't lead me into it. I think getting in trouble led me into it. Getting in trouble, always getting in fights and getting arrested and going to a jail prison at a young age. I think that's what got me noticed by the local wise guys, gangsters, and going to prison at a young age. Um, that's pretty much how I would say I got more involved, being violent and getting noticed by the older mafia guys. I
Right.
think that's probably the main focus of me getting involved, was me getting in trouble and gravitating towards that.
Now, I was reading something. I don't know if this was the first time
Excuse me.
you had legal issues, but I think it said in 1989 there was an incident you had with like someone at a hot dog stand or a vendor at a hot dog stand or something like that.
Yeah, there was like fights every single night with our gang. We had a gang of us, and
Mhm.
there was other gangs of Italians throughout the other parts of the city, and there was other gangs that we would fight with as well. We were South End, there was the North End, there was, we would just go around being wise guys looking for trouble, walking into, bars at a young age, 15 years old, 16, and So we were constantly fighting. And that particular time, yeah, there was one of the fights happened outside of a nightclub, and we hurt these guys pretty bad. I ended up getting arrested. A couple of us got arrested for that, and I ended up getting probation for that particular crime. The guy was hit with a sawhorse, one of those parking things I hit him with, and
Yeah, it says sawhorse, but I was like, wow, I didn't know what the size of it, whether it was just a small one, like that's kind of block off traffic.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
like, it was heavy though. Those are heavy pieces of wood, but
Yeah.
it was funny. I mean, we had fights like that all the time. It was actually not, they were happening all the time. And this particular time, I got arrested for it, and I got probation. I got put on probation.
Okay, so you did get probation for that. So
Right.
when did you kind of start work? Because I know you said in other interviews that you did get into dealing like marijuana and things like that. We know that the mob, even though a lot of it goes on, they do kind of thumb their nose at it. At what point did you say, okay, I am going to start getting involved with La Cosa Nostra?
I started dealing drugs around in my later teens after I was done high school. We started messing around with some cocaine in the late 80s, mid to late 80s. And it was just small, it was big stuff. We were buying half a kilos and ounces, and there was a few partners that were involved in this uh, drug activity. And so that's how I started making some money on the street. As I was also gambling heavy, betting thousands of dollars on a game, multiple games a night, and then selling some drugs.
Was that football or just about any sport that was on?
Any sport. It was pretty much, yeah. And I started that at a young age. I mean, I was really wild when it came to the gambling. The amounts that I bet at a young age were insane. I was betting 4,500 a game, 20 games a night when I was like 16 years old.
Wow.
And yeah, there was I've had sit downs over that. I lost 70,000 in 1 week at 16 years old, and there was sit downs over it. And
so did you not have the money to pay it, or what
no,
was
I had half at the time. I had half, and the sit down was over how we were going to pay the other half. But then I had people that were wise guys that were wanting to know why I was given a $4,500 limit a game, betting 100,000 a night, 20 games a night. Why would you give a 16-year-old that type of limit?
Yeah.
So there was all kinds of sit downs afterwards, and we ended up paying not all of it. I got something discounted, but there was things like that going all the time. And drugs was part of the way I would make money to support betting if I was going to pay the bookmaker that I lost to. So that happened in my later teens, as far as that. The getting involved with the mob didn't really happen until I came home from prison in 91. That's when I pretty much started getting put on record with the local organized crime guys, and they wanted me to be with them.
And would that be Al Bruno from that area that kind of took you under his wing, so to speak?
He was one. There was another guy, Anthony DeLavo, wanted me to be with him. I had a 5-year prison sentence that I had to do. I did a year on it. It was for a shooting. I got caught with a gun, and they both wanted me to be with them. Bruno was the first one to show up at my house. Excuse me, when I got out of prison in 91. So he put me on record. He went to the local boss here. Skyball Shabelli was the boss.
Yeah, Frankie Skyball.
And yeah, he was the boss. And he went to him and got the okay to put me on record with them to start earning money with Shylocking and sports gambling and running card games and that sort of thing.
Well, and when you say that, I want to expand on that just a bit for the audience members that may not be take into account exactly what that means. When you go on record for somebody, I mean, you're vouching for them, and your action, you're vouching for them plus their actions later on. And it's kind of, I always revert back to the movie Donnie Brasco, where Lefty, Al Pacino's character, tells him that, Donnie Brasco, I'm vouching for you, so you're up under me. So therefore, when later on, when he ultimately, became found out that he was a cop, it was a pretty much a death sentence for Lefty. So that's a huge thing to vouch for someone in that life.
Right. And in Lefty's case or those guys' case, the guy didn't grow up with them. I mean, in our area, we know everybody that grew up since we've been.
Yeah, a
They
little
know who
different
came
there.
from Italy, and yeah, we know who came from Italy,
And I'm
and
sure it's
they're
probably a lot of different story, but I always found that kind of odd for Lefty to vouch for someone so quick and he barely knew him. I didn't know how the legitimate that story was because it didn't make a whole lot of sense.
well, they ended up killing the guy Sonny Black over that. So
Yeah,
they killed a few guys over by bringing him in, but
I think Lefty
you
probably
know,
would have got killed. Didn't he go to prison?
yeah, I think he in prison. He got arrested. That's what saved him.
Yeah,
But in
probably.
our area, it goes, like I said, there was a lot of Italian immigrants here, and a lot of them come from these two small towns in Italy. So everyone knows in Italy who these people are, their families are, and going into Italy, then coming here, and the ones that were born here that were like second generations, we know they know who the fathers are, the grandparents. So everyone knew anybody. There was none of that going to happen around here with somebody trying to sneak in like that, or as soon as somebody popped up like that, the antennas were on them when
Right.
it came to that. Yeah.
Okay. So when you hit it, you were just doing what? Loan sharking, bookmaking, extortion. What all kind of rackets did they have you doing?
Well, with Bruno, I started doing sports gambling and loan sharking and some numbers and some card games that we would put casino nights on.
Right.
Those crimes really didn't matter to me. When I went to prison, I got out in '91. That's when I started getting involved in the marijuana business.
Mm-hmm.
That's what mattered to me. I was still, when I got around Bruno, he had me doing these things with sports gambling, and to be honest, it wasn't a moneymaker for me. Like, first of all, we split it with him 50%. We had three partners. So we get 50% and he gets 50%. Our 50%'s got to get chopped up three different ways. So, you got to make a ton of money to make any kind of money in that
Yeah.
business, to see any kind of money. So my business was the marijuana business when I got out of prison. I was still selling some cocaine. Bruno had nothing to do with any of that. And I started branching out and reaching out to a lot of people outside of my area, different cities that I met in prison, different areas, different states. So Bruno, that was my bread and butter to money making scheme that I had, was the marijuana and some, and the cocaine. We did a lot of scores too. Me and my guys, we robbed, hijacked trucks, and we kept all this money. The money that we did with organized crime, like I was telling you earlier, was sports gambling, loan sharking, and we also had loan shark money on the streets that the Bruno and the organized crime guys didn't have anything to do with.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, we would just do that. We were crazy and not put a lot of stuff on record like you should have. I mean, people can get hurt over that, even killed.
Yeah.
But that was just our mentality. We were kind of crazy and we pushed the envelope and didn't really care. And
Now, when you say crew, was that when you were doing the stuff with Freddie and Ty, or?
yeah, I had a crew of us. Not really Freddie and Ty. I met Ty in prison. He was still in prison.
Okay.
Freddie was, just when I came out of prison in '91, he had the family life going on. He worked for his uncle jewelry store, and he was like a low, um, he was like doing credit cards, robbing credit card type schemes with his uncle's store, things like that. He wasn't part of doing anything that the organized crime guys had going on and what I got involved in when I first came home. He did do drugs. He didn't sell any weed. I was big in the weed. He didn't really get involved with any of the weed business. He was good at getting a kilo. He had this vice that could make 5 kilos out of one. He would he would like put the wax paper down and put all this fake, mix it all in, and then you know, put it in a vice, and then he would get kilos out of it that were, 80% was, cut and everything.
Right.
But that's how he would make his little scores. He would, I would have customers or some other places and sell them that. So yeah, I hung around with Freddie. Ty was in prison, but I had a bigger crew that I grew up with in my area of more of Italians than, we grew up since we've been in kindergarten growing up in the Italian schools.
Okay.
So, and at the same time, I was building like a crew outside of my area from prison connections that I made all throughout Connecticut. I was big at a young age going to Connecticut. I like getting out of my area. So I traveled to Connecticut a lot, and I met a lot of Connecticut organized crime criminals. And that's where I did a lot of my business in my early 20s, especially with the marijuana. And throughout, like going into Providence and especially into Boston, I met a lot of those guys. So my crew was expanding as far as, and when I say my crew, I was networking. So
Right.
I was meeting people. I mean,
Yeah.
they weren't in, it wasn't, I don't want to say they were in my crew and I was the leader of the crew. I was just expanding my illegitimate businesses and meeting really good men in them businesses that was helping me expand and make money.
Right. And that, I mean, that's something to be even said for legitimate businesses. I mean, networking, and I think I put a post on this on Facebook last week, but I said networking will open more doors for you than a degree ever will.
You
Um,
have to.
and
Yeah.
that's the same for illegal businesses, legit businesses, whatever it is. I don't care if it's a church. I mean,
Right.
networking is the key to getting stuff done. And it's
Yeah.
like you said, you make contacts, and that you never know where one contact may lead you for something else entirely.
Right.
And,
The
and
entrepreneur.
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say the entrepreneurs that become multimillionaire. They'll tell you the same exact thing. It's all about getting that meeting with that guy that's a CEO of a company or somebody that's a multimillionaire in the real estate business. It's all about getting into the door and putting a good impression on them.
Yeah.
So it's who you surround yourself with and networking and and not burning those bridges and holding on to them going forward, which in my case, when you're doing street crimes, you burn a lot of bridges,
Yeah.
so it's a lot of it's hard to keep those relationships solid in the street stuff because so much business transpires and people get hurt, people they go to prison, and people take other people's customers or business, and so it's harder to keep but yeah, you're absolutely right. Networking is a key, both illegitimate and legally.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. Now, I'm not sure at which point the timeline is here, but I do know at some point you get arrested for drugs. And at that point, Bruno kind of shelves you. But there was something else I wanted to discuss. At some point, you do get sent to do a piece of work that the hit goes off, but the guy doesn't die. Was that after you got out of prison after being shelved for a little while or before?
Yeah, that didn't happen till 2003, the hit in New York.
Okay,
I
so
got
you got
shelved in
shelved first.
1996. Yeah, I got arrested in 1996. I was I was really blowing up in the marijuana business.
Okay.
And so everything else didn't matter to me. I was around Bruno for 6 years on the street, 1996, and everything was going great. I had just whatever I told you already earlier, just expanded it by
Right.
20 times, networking, friends, other cities, meeting people. Come 1996, they raid my house. They find 40 pounds of marijuana and some ammunition. Bruno finds, obviously it's all over the newspapers and the news. Bruno's pissed with me. I'm hearing from my friends that he wants to kill me. He thinks, like you said earlier, he's responsible for me because he proposed me. So he's thinking that the higher ups might think that he had something to do with the drug business, and
Uh,
they might, and he's like over. being over dramatic with it. But I could see where he was coming from. He is responsible for me, and I did
Yeah.
get caught with drugs. So, but they're not going to kill him over it. But whatever. He's telling my friends, giving me messages before I get him clipped. He's going to clip me, and he's telling all these. He's going to see my. Now he's not talking to me, but he would show up at my father's store, and I would be at my father's store, and I just happened to owe like a $50,000 gambling debt to Skyball Shabelli's brother. He ended up becoming boss. I believe he was boss now too at the time. So Bruno, instead of talking to me, he would give my father. My father would come in and said, "Yeah, Bruno wants you to know you got to pay the guy." So I would tell my father, "Yeah, we'll tell him I know I'm going to pay the guy." And then he'd come back in, and Bruno says, "Make sure you pay the guy." you know, and I would. So he was giving me messages through my father instead of coming because he was mad that I got arrested for the marijuana and put him in a spot like that. So he banished me from all the mafia associates in our area, my friends, the businesses that they all owned. I was barred from going into them. And I said, thank you. And I went my own way, and I went to Connecticut, and I ended up getting the biggest nightclub in Connecticut. I ended up expanding my business 50 times better than I did being on the shelf. That's when I really blew up.
Wow.
But anyways, I got arrested for that in 96, and that was when Bruno shelved me. Case took 2 years to come to trial. The informant in the case was a corrupt rogue informant. He was one of those guys that didn't have any charges and would walk himself into the drug task force and try to just start giving information to protect him from his drug dealing. So he had this one cop that was doing that. And so he was going around giving the cop other guys to arrest, but then he didn't realize that another agency, which was the state police narcotics unit, ends up arresting the guy. And not only that, he arrested him twice, both times, with a gun in the car and cocaine in a school zone. So this kid was facing like 20 mandatory sentences, 2 different cases. So I ended up getting my case dismissed because he was that type of an informant.
You
And that
beat
was
a
in,
lot of cases though throughout your career.
yeah, I got a lot of breaks. And well, we had the district attorney here that Bruno and the mafia owned as a big help. That was a
Okay.
big help to us. But yeah, I got a lot of help in assault and battery cases.
I was about to say, I read something about a case that you beat when they even had you on like a wiretap or something, saying you were going to run the guy over like 85 times or something like that. I think that was with Freddie G and Ty also.
Right. So that happened after. That was in I got indicted in 03. Right after Bruno got killed, I got indicted. Racketeering case by the state. Then I got indicted. I was out on bail for like $250,000. I got indicted again by the feds in 05. Got out on bail on that, and then I got indicted again by the state organized crime in 05. They took me off the street.
Jeez.
I pled guilty. I got 3 to 3.5 in the state. I got 29 months in the feds, and I started doing my time in 2005. 2007, I'm about to come home. I'm about to finish up that. Well, no, 2007, I get indicted for that's the case with the extortion case
Okay.
with Freddie and Ty. The 3 of us get indicted. The case goes to trial. They don't even offer us guys anything. They don't even offer us. I remember my lawyer, I said, they didn't offer anything. And he said, no, I didn't even ask him. He was going to trial the whole way. So we go to trial in 2008, and it was about a week trial. They come back and find it they find us not guilty. It was a great feeling. And so Ty was going to get released immediately that day. And it was the first time I got to see those guys. We were all in the bullpen. So I was learning a lot of stuff like that was going on from the streets, because we were kind of separated from like 05 till 2000 until we met up in the bullpen. And Freddie was the last one to come in, so he had like updated information on informants in our area, which he told me. I won't say their names now, but at some point I'm going to tell you their names. who informants were in our area, and he was right on because he got information that this one guy in our area was an informant. We ended up killing him, and it come to find out he was an informant. So he got some good information from the Puglianos in our area. Got some good information on that. So that was the case that we got found not guilty, and I was released. I got found not guilty in '08 of February, and I hit the streets in June of '08. That's when I got released.
And is this kind of where about the time when the New York connection comes in?
No, no, the New York connection came in way years ago. I mean, we already when the New York connection, I already went to New York and for to go kill a guy for them back in '03.
Okay,
This
yeah,
all happened in years later.
okay.
Yeah.
So that why I wanted you to talk about that hit right there, because I found that to be kind of strange, because I mean, the hit went off. I don't know how the hell you didn't kill the guy, but kind of tell us real quick, like who gave you that order and a little bit about that hit and the aftermath.
That hit, there was so Bruno was becomes boss of the Western Mass Genovese family in '01. Before that, there was the two guys that were supposed to get made under the old bosses. This guy Joey and this kid Reno. Now they were proposed under Babish Shabelli and Anthony DeLavo to get made. When I came around and Bruno took me back around, that's when Bruno added me to the list to get proposed. Mm-hmm. So there was three of us that were in our area, Western Mass, that were proposed. There was other guys in Connecticut that were on the list also, older gentlemen that were around organized crime their whole lives that were on the list as well. So when you said the New York connection, what happened, the New York connection started coming to Western Mass more often. They started seeing what was going on. They know that the other two guys that were on the list in our area really didn't have shit going on. One guy was in prison, just came home, and then he ends up telling them to take him. Well, and I'll tell you what happened, and then the other guy was working construction, and he really doesn't have anything going on. So when these guys are coming up, they see I got a lot of shit going on. Mm-hmm. So when this is going on, a lot of stuff starts transpiring in our area. A lot of greed, a lot of different power plays are going on, and they're looking to realign the local mafia in Western Mass. They want to break Bruno from a boss to a soldier. They want to put someone else. They're trying to maneuver some stuff so they can funnel more money to their own pockets.
I got you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see me okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So that's what they're looking to do. They're looking to maneuver everything. As that's going on, there's a beef that happens with the unions down in New York City.
Right.
And so and there's also a lot of leadership changing in New York based on guys going to prison. Genovese family, the bosses were, one guy was going to prison. Then another guy was, they were using a panel. Then this guy was going in. So they were maneuvering there as well. Yeah. So there was a change in New York City. When the change happened, that's when they wanted to make the change in our area. That's when the beef happened between this union guy with a boss that actually ended up becoming the boss in New York, Artie. He ends up getting the position. So he wants to make build his not his crew, but he wants to establish a better relationship with guys in our area.
Right.
So he puts out a hit on this union guy, and he wants me and the kid Joey and the kid Reno to participate in this murder, because those are the three of us that are on the list to get made. I get called down to New York, and there's like dozens and dozens of things that go on prior to this. I mean, we'd be talking till next week, yeah. But I start getting called down to New York more often. I start dealing with other captains, and without Bruno being involved, um, Bruno wasn't going to get killed, anything like that. It was just they were going to demote him from a boss to a soldier, and that was their game plan. And so when they call me down, they give me this guy's name, they show me where he lives, and they want him murdered. And the boss of the family wants the other two guys, Joey and Reno, to participate in the murder with me. I come back, I go to Joey and Reno to participate in the murder with me. Joey, he runs away immediately, doesn't want nothing to do with it. And he tells them he wants to get taken off the list. Now, in the old days, if you do that, he's a dead man. Mm-hmm. And he was in trouble even by doing it now. He was in trouble because it's just that the way everything happened, people getting arrested. But he had problems, serious problems. But anyways, Reno, when I went to him, he would participate in it. He told me that he would participate in the murder with me, for me, because he trusted me. But there was a lot. He didn't understand a lot of the politics that were going on in our area. He was around Felix. Bruno was supposed to be the boss. Felix was telling him one thing. Then I'm telling him one thing that I'm hearing from the bosses in New York. There was a lot of confusion going on. Anyways, I go to my two friends, Freddie and Ty. I said, listen, I got to kill a guy in New York. You want to come with me? They say yes. And we made the plan, did it. Boom, went there, shot the guy 9 times, and he lived.
So how the hell did he live through that? And when you say shot, it's not like you shot and missed. You hit him a good bit, didn't you?
So Bruno got these guns from Artie in New York. I brought him back from the city. Bruno was in the car. I was driving his SUV. We drove the guns back. I brought them. I held the guns at my mother's house. I had my own house with my wife and kids, but I brought them to my mother's house and held the guns there. Bruno followed me. Boom. He knew where the guns were in case we needed them. We had houses all over the place with guns, but these particular guns were with silencers, and I held these guns. So when Artie put the hit out on this guy, those were the guns that we used. We were going to go to the New York City on the streets of New York and murder a guy. Of course you want a gun with silencers.
Yeah.
And, this is going to happen right on the streets of New York and daylight time. So, of course, we want guns that, have silencers on them. So we use those guns. Now, Artie gave us the guns. So, long story short, we go up to the car, and the guy just sits down into the driver's seat, shuts the door, and we fire right through the the driver's side window. And we shoot him, and he gets hit 9 times, and every shot is, he's in his car driving his car. So he looks this way. The shots are coming this way. They're not hitting him low. They're hitting him from the chest up.
Yeah.
But anyways, he survived it. Thank God he survived it. And we got told he was dead. Well, when we left the scene, he looked dead.
Yeah.
Okay. And
did y'all go up to the car after the fact, or you just figured you pumped that many of them?
Well, we were right on the car. We didn't have to go up to the car. We were inches from the car when we shot inches.
Okay.
Yeah, the gun was like 3 inches from the window, and when we started firing the gun, the windshield, the window shattered.
Oh, okay.
So we were inches from the guy. It wasn't like we were shooting him from 20 feet away, and we were inches from the car, pumping bullets into the car.
Okay. Wow.
So then when we left, Freddie was the getaway driver. He pulled up. We jumped in the car. When we looked, the guy looked dead. We got word the next day that he was dead, and then we got word that he was going to die. And then obviously he didn't die.
Wow. And now the word from up there, that guy was saying something about y'all need to learn how to use the guns better or something like that. And then
afterwards, he gave a smart ass. Yeah. He gave a smart ass. You got to get better with headshots, he said. But, I'm not great with different guns. Obviously, a 45 is a 9mm. The heavy duty guns that are going to kill. This was, a 22 with a silencer, and you got, I think there was 15 that could go into the clip. I'm not positive about that, but you got 2 guys with full clips shooting into the car. I don't think you think the guy's going to live or there's going to be a problem with the caliber of the gun.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, he made that comment, and you know, whatever. Get better with the guns, buddy.
Yeah. Well, it's not like you didn't do enough. I'll put it like that. How the hell he survived, I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah,
What happened to him after that? I mean, I never really heard too much else after that story. What happened to him after that?
I didn't hear anything from the streets. Shortly after that, well, that was the year everything was going on. There was all kinds of
Right.
shootings and murders and everything. So I didn't really hear anything from him. Just that he wasn't no longer a union guy. He was done, I guess, with that. And
Yeah, I'd imagine that'd be a good time to put in the retirement papers or whatever you whatever you got
yeah,
to do.
but they had no idea who did it. I mean, it was that well done of a hit, and like the locals, they were blaming Albanians for it. They had no idea it was a mafia hit.
Oh, well, yeah.
So it was a well done, well orchestrated hit. We did everything else good with it.
Mm-hmm. Now you did actually get made into the Genovese. What year was that when you got made?
2003, August 11th, day before my daughter was born.
Day before.
Yeah,
Wow.
she was born the 12th. I got made the 11th.
Wow. Because they say in those a lot of times in the TV shows they say those things come before everything. Um,
Yeah,
the ceremony, real quick, we don't have to dive into a lot because I think everybody's mostly knows kind of at least somewhat of how that works by the shows and movies that are around. But just for the viewer's sake, you did say that before that took place, they actually made you basically strip down to what boxers and put a robe or something to make sure you weren't wired up.
right. There was four of us that got made that day. We went to a apartment building in the Bronx. They did two at a time. And they told you to get down into your boxes. They put a war, bathrobe on you. They walked you in. There was bosses sitting on the table, gun and a knife, and you repeat after all the same oaths. Would you kill your brother? Would you leave your wife for on her deathbed if we called you? All the same stuff that nobody would ever in their right mind do.
Right.
And we all said we would do it. And you kiss on the cheek out, they prick your finger, blood comes out, you're burning the tissue, talking about betraying Omerta and the saint, you're gonna burn like the saint. Like they had a saint card, but the tissue was burning, and you're going like this, and then you cuff it up with your hands, and they kiss you at the end, hello friend, and that's it. You're a made guy.
Um, a little bit later on, a hit that wasn't sanctioned on your brother-in-law.
Right.
Now that was not sanctioned, so theoretically, you guys did break rules by doing that without getting permission. But tell us a little bit about that hit, what caused it, and how that went down.
And I was telling you that earlier. My whole life we broke the rules. Like
Right.
we should have how I didn't get killed. If it was back in the 50s, they would have never found my body. The
Right.
shit that I did.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't give. We did loan sharking. We didn't give the local wise guys nothing. I was selling drugs. One time I'm driving around with I was driving with my friend Louie. I had about 50 pounds of marijuana in the back of my SUV. And we're driving down the South End, and the boss at the time, Skyball Shabelli, he flags us down. Hey, 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 I need a ride. We're like, oh, fuck. We got like 50 pounds of marijuana in the trunk. This guy says, hey, come here. He goes, give me a ride down the street. He jumps in the car. You could smell the marijuana in the truck. Now he's a notorious little bastard of a boss. This guy is crazy, ruthless, and he would have killed us. We ever got caught and pulled over, if there was 50 pounds and he was in the car, we would have been killed.
I
But
know he had to smell
those
it, huh?
yeah, he probably didn't even know what it smelled like. You know what I mean? These guys don't know. They said marijuana is narcotics. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
they consider it like that's narcotics. But we broke the rules our whole life. So this particular case was a lot of shit was going on. I can't get into all of that. I mean, there was
Right.
shootings, there was murder plots. I pled guilty to murder conspiracies on certain guys. A lot of shit was going on, and at this time, the hit on Bruno was going on. Bruno
Mhm.
wasn't dead yet. So there was a lot of shit going on. There was like multiple murder plots going on, and we ended up killing this guy, and in the midst of it all, it was like, we're supposed to kill two other guys, but we kill this guy. The boss in New York doesn't give us the okay to do it. Um, he knew I was. See, I'm more of a. He knew I had a wild crew,
Mhm.
and I was a wild. We weren't all put together the right way, but we were all still sharp dudes. Like, Ty was a little bit off more because he did a lot of hold time, but we weren't put together the right way. I was more polished of them all. I could handle myself better out in the public, but we would take a life in a heartbeat if we had to, and that's what we did. And the boss in New York knew that, and when rumors started surfacing about this guy that he had around him, John Bologna,
Mhm.
becoming an informant from other uh, families, he had him stop coming up to our area. And I don't know this for sure, but I can just guess that he's probably thinking these nuts will probably clip this guy, kill this guy, and you won't even, because I did mention that to him in the past about doing something like that when we were told that. But I wouldn't be surprised if he thought in our heads that we would do that
Yeah, because
and
somebody from
kill
New
this guy.
York told you that he was an informant, right? If I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
the acting boss of the Gambinos told us. I was in the car when he said it.
Yeah.
And then the captain of the Patriarcha family, Rico Petrillo, told me, with Beaver, another captain in the Patriarcha family. Then these cocksuckers in my area all knew about it, that he was. The Babish Shabeli and his faction, they knew he was an informant. So that's why they all ran away. And, they ran away, but, and got away with everything. But they knew. So, but, so yeah, so we didn't get permission to do that. And but going back, there's not a lot of shit that we asked for permission to do anyways in that, and me personally.
Now, when you got the word, because you knew beforehand the hit was going to go down on Bruno, correct?
The hit that came out on Bruno, it kind of surfaced. It came out in uh September, October of '03. Prior to that, now I already was made. I got made in August of '03.
Right.
Bruno was not marked for death until September or October. I don't know exactly. I don't remember exactly when, but it wasn't until, I want to say it was October, that a discovery, a piece of discovery came out in Emilio Fusco's sentencing. And when that piece of paper came out, that's when the hit came out on Bruno. So that happened like in October. Um, and that's when Bruno, they had meetings in New York, and they decided for Bruno to get murdered, which I had no, I didn't want. In other words, whether Bruno died or not didn't matter to me. What mattered to me was I wanted to kill these other guys in my area. That's what mattered. There was like these other guys that I was dying to kill, and that's what I wanted to do. And that's what mattered to me. And but that's why Bruno, the paper came out. It surfaced that he was talking to an FBI agent, and that happened around October. We killed this other guy in November 4th, November 4th and November 5th. I don't know. I think it was the 4th, but Bruno got killed the 23rd of November.
All right. Now, that was one of the murders that you got arrested for, correct?
Yes, that was yep. Bruno murder. Bruno murder was the one I got arrested for. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. When well, first off, before we get into the sentencing and stuff, with him being kind of your mentor, did you have any reservation? I know once you get that order, you don't have a choice. You can't say I take a pass on this one, gentlemen. That's not an option for you. But how did that make you feel, knowing that it was his time to go, being that he kind of did vouch for you from earlier on? Did you have any reservations about it, or was it just business as usual?
Absolutely. I didn't want to see the guy die. He was great friends with my father. He was a distant cousin of mine. I felt that there was a lot more people than him that deserved to die. When it came to me, I wanted to kill those people that deserved to die more than him. Those people didn't like him, and those were the people I was trying to kill. So yeah, I had a lot of reservations with it. I wasn't part of it in the beginning, and I didn't want to see him get killed. I didn't think it was going to happen at first because the guys that got told to kill him didn't have a crew capable of killing. So I didn't really pay a close attention to it until I got called down to New York to get involved in the actual plot. I didn't like it. I didn't want to see. I didn't want to see that take place. I really didn't. And but that's the life that we all choose. And at some point, something like that is capable of happening to me too, even now, currently. And so in life, Bruno murdered other people in life. He did a lot of violence in life. He was a very dangerous man. And that's what happens in that life to some people. He didn't go to prison and die in prison. He died on the streets. Um, but yeah, I didn't. I had reservations about it.
Okay. So now, even before you got arrested, you kind of had prior knowledge, or not necessarily prior knowledge, but you knew they were coming for you. You had a little bit of time to try to start getting some things in line financially and stuff like that. When they finally did come down and indict you on all these charges, what were they? Were they threatening, obviously, at that point in life, or what were they threatening you with?
Are you talking in 2010 at the
Yeah.
last one?
Yeah. The
Yeah.
last
So the
one. Yeah.
last. Yeah. So in 2008, I get released from prison in June. Um, you know, I thought I was going to get arrested right away for a murder, but anyways, a year goes by, then a year and a half goes by. Now it's like Christmas time of 2009, and I think like I might escape this. I might not. You know, we might get through this, and then I have a chance to build this area up, or build what I want to do in this area. So I started getting more confidence. I started thinking like, there's a chance that we're going to get away with all this and go from there. And that's when I got word that this guy that was around Artie went into the witness protection program. I had a phone call from a cousin from in Florida. He called the guy that I was with, this Bobby, and he told him to tell me, he knew he was with me because Bobby used to always hang around with me, that this guy went into the witness protection program. When I heard that, I immediately didn't understand at first. And then I had him repeat it. And then when he said the guy with the beard that used to come up here, he just went into the witness protection program. His family got word that his family said this. So when it hit me, I said, when I heard that, this guy knows about a murder, attempted murders, murder conspiracies, and a lot of other things that could give me the rest of my life in prison. So it wasn't a good feeling. I remember leaving. I was at a social club, tie-in club in West Springfield. I remember leaving, and I thought there was going to be like 30 FBI agents out there ready to arrest me, but there wasn't. I left there. I went immediately to my lawyer. I told him what's going on, what I heard, and we just said, "Well, there's nothing we can do. Is just wait on it." So that's when the feds went to go visit the guys in prison, Freddie in prison, and told them what's going on. And that's when I knew that they were going to come arrest us soon. Okay. And it was going to be for a murder racketeering case out of New York City in the Southern District. So, but then like a month went by and I wasn't arrested. So then I started thinking like maybe they're full of shit. Maybe that was just a ploy and they were just trying to get the guys to see if they were going to turn. But yeah, I was putting together things on the street, trying to get finances in order for my family, my kids. I was trying to get businesses. I was trying to get people so they could pay the lawyer because I was getting a lawyer out of New York City, John Mitchell, and that was going to cost like 150,000. So I was trying to put all that together in the meantime.
So in the end, what did they charge you when they finally did come? What were the charges and what were they threatening you with? off the bat there, charge wise?
It was a murder racketeering indictment, death penalty case, murder, uh, uh, several racketeering infractions that went along with the murder. I think there was like 14 counts, and I think there was about 7 of us indicted, maybe more. But it was out of New York, and I was the second one on the indictment. Artie was first, I was second, and on the indictment, and it was a death penalty case. I was told at my arraignment, the judge asked, what does he face for maximum sentence, and they said death by lethal injection.
Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of fucked up. I mean, because we kill each other. You don't really think that they're gonna kill us for killing a guy that killed other people.
Right.
But yeah, that's what they told the judge.
At what point, I mean, because obviously, we talked earlier about you getting made and the oaths that, like you said, you're saying in there, but at the end of the day, a lot of guys, like you said, won't hold up and won't do those types of things. But it had to be a hard decision to eventually decide to cooperate. What was did you have one particular thing that was just kind of that made that decision for you, or was it kind of a multitude of things with the kids, with the situation being what it was, and other people that were already cooperating as well? What was kind of like the last straw to make you decide to cooperate with the government?
So back then, I was never, I killed guys that cooperated.
Right.
That was how I always had my mental mindset. If I knew I was going to get indicted for a murder case, and I knew a month ahead of time, I had plenty of time to reach out to the feds or to make a deal from the streets. My mindset didn't think like that. That's just the way I thought. Going back, like right now, I'm happy with the decision of cooperating. Thank God. There's a lot of people that don't give them the opportunity because they don't have that. They don't have anything to get them out of a certain situation.
Right.
I was just lucky enough to be given an opportunity and at the time I didn't want to take it. Now I look back, I thank God I took it. And I think, like, if you ask 99.9% of the population in the world and they had a chance to get out of, well, you're going to go to jail for a death penalty case, but if you beat that, you're going to go to jail for the rest of your life, or you have a chance to get out of that. Who wouldn't take that?
Yeah.
So my I'm lucky that I had that opportunity to say, but at the time going back, I didn't think like that. I was planning on defense. I got John Mitchell out of New York. What got me to start thinking that way, I got arrested and I go to prison. I'm in Wyatt, Rhode Island, being held, getting ready to get to ship to New York. And I'm told that there's going to be a superseding indictment and Felix Genovese is going to cooperate. So he's a captain. That he was the guy they were putting in to take over for Bruno. Publicly, just to put him so he gets the heat. But I had all the power and we had all the power, me and my guys. And then there was going to be a superseding indictment. They had, my lawyer comes up, Vinny Bongiorni comes up. At the time, his father passes away, so there was a lot of shit going on. But then John Mitchell comes up and sees me. John Mitchell comes up and said, New York is worried sick about this case, about what's going on, about. I said, what are they worried about? I'm the one that's facing a death penalty. They said Artie was in prison doing a 5-year bid in Fort Dix. Now, he got indicted a week before me. I got indicted a week afterwards. John Mitchell comes up and says, Artie's not in the system. Now, if you go in the BOP locator, you can find out who's doing where they are in BOP. John Mitchell's sitting across from me and the attorney in our meeting, and he says that all the bosses in New York, which I don't want to say their names, but the top guys there that are there now, even right now, are all shitting in their pants because Artie can't be found in the system. He got indicted a week before me. I got indicted a week later. I think he got indicted the 10th of February. I got indicted the 18th of February. This is like the end of February, beginning of March, when this lawyer comes to me and they don't know where Artie is in the system and they're shitting their pants. So I'm second on the indictment. So all this is happening. And I'm thinking in my head that, it's not unheard of that the boss flips.
Right.
Bosses have been flipping. Joe Messino, the guy from
Messina.
Lucchese, Diarco. I mean, there's a lot of bosses, the shit that was going on with Whitey Bulger and other like Greg Scarpa, you hear all these rumors and everything. So, that's when the thought hit me that, something's got to be, and obviously anybody that tells you that your kids don't come first before anything, it's got to have something wrong with them. How can anything in your life come before I had 3 kids, 2 little girls and a son. How can anything come before them in reality? I know I took an oath, and I know that I say that I would kill my son if my mafia boss told me to shoot my son in the head, then I would say, yeah, I would shoot my son in the head. Am I really going to kill my kid or my brother or, so anybody that really says that, but anyways, looking back, I still didn't make the decision. It was a hard decision to make. It's not something that it came easy to me. I wanted to look out for my guys in my area. That's what I wanted to do. So if I'm going to make out that decision for me, I'm the captain of the ship. The ship's going down. We're going to sink. We're going down. We're going to get life in prison. So me being the captain of the ship, I sent word to these guys. I said, listen, now this is before I had any dealings with any federal agent, anything. I sent word to them and I said, listen, the ship's going down. I'm going to jump. I'm going to jump. I want to jump, but you guys jump first. I didn't jump yet. I was still in Rhode Island when I sent the message. I didn't meet anybody until I got to MCC in almost April. So in April, I believe it was in April, or was it definitely later in March. So I sent word to them and I said, this is what I want to do. There's the boat that's going to save us. You guys jump. Now it's up to them and what they want to do.
Right.
I'm here, they're there.
Yours first. If you take your deal first, then obviously that kind of cuts them out. Then if those guys,
I don't cut them out. It doesn't cut them out, but I'm kind of stupid for what I did. I don't think anyone, like, people would say I'm stupid because I put myself out there by telling them that. I never even talked to nobody yet. Right. So it's like I put myself out there. What happens if, they have kids now? They have, they've been in prison a lot throughout their life, but now they have children, right? I know they love their kids, right? What if they make the deal? And then I'm told I can't make a deal. What if that happened? Yeah. Because I put myself out there and told them, to do that. And I don't understand why they want to do that. The mob doesn't exist. The mob ain't shit. You know what I mean? They could be right here with me right now. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know why they want to do that, because they believe in what newspaper people write about them, like that matters.
Wow. And the one thing I'll say is, like, you wound up getting 99 months at the end of the day? That's what you had to serve?
I got 99 months, yeah.
You got 99 months. Did you have to do every bit of that, or you got out slightly early?
No, I did whatever the federal mandatory makes you do as a federal inmate. That's what I got. I had to do 99 months. I did like 7.5 years out.
7.5 years. So when you got out, though, you came straight back home. Like a lot of the guys that I've talked to numerous people, once they do decide to cooperate, they don't necessarily return, at least not to where maybe that they put guys away. Most of them live in different states. Even though the threat of maybe getting killed in retribution isn't there quite as much now as it was maybe back then, they're still weary. But you just, I mean, I don't know any other way to say it, but just seemingly don't give a fuck.
Well, I don't give a fuck. But first of all, I didn't put nobody got in trouble in this area.
Right. That's what I was going to say. None of your people.
Well, nobody. Yeah. Right. And the people that did get in trouble, there was only 3. Those 3 people, I gave them the opportunity. Listen, if you don't want to take an opportunity that I gave you, whose fault is it? That's your fault. It's not my fault. Right. Because with or without me, you're going to go to jail the rest of your life. The only difference is you're not dragging me with you to go do jail the rest of your life.
Right.
That's the only difference that happened here. So I didn't, in my opinion, I didn't hurt nobody, because I gave you the opportunity to be here with me, number one. Okay, all the guys in my area, nobody got hurt here. 3 guys that I gave the opportunity to, they could be out here with me right now, or I could be in there with them right now. But either way, those are the 2 things that are 100% gonna happen. I could be in there with them. They could be out here with me. They chose to be in there with them. That's their choice. Mm-hmm. Am I supposed to be like a baby and put the bottle in their mouth? I gave you the choice. What do you want to do? It's your choice.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, make a decision. That's your choice. You want to be here with your, not even for me. It ain't for me. It's, you got kids, right? You love your kid, your own family. Yeah. Make the decision for your kids.
Have you, since you've been out and been back around the area, has there been any pushback from any of the guys? I mean, obviously we know that there's still people involved into life to a certain extent around there. You're going to bump into them. I'm assuming it's, you know, it's bound to happen at some point. Have you ever had any sort of pushback where things got a little edgy or?
Not one time. In fact, the second day I was home, all the local guys came over and to my house and welcomed me, hugged me, welcomed me, came in my house, sat down, had a coffee with me. Second day I was home in 2017. So I've been to all the places around here. Not that, listen, I didn't hurt any of these guys here. I grew up with them, and they know who I am as a young kid. The ones that know me growing up here. And yeah, I had no issues at all. Not one. Not even a little bit of an argument. Not even like a dirty look. I haven't even gotten a dirty look. The worst I got is if I went into a grocery store and I see some jerk off and he didn't say hello or whatever. And that's, you know, and I don't even want to get into it, but we'll just go from there.
And just to give people a little bit of background, the guy we spoke of earlier, Freddie G, who you've done a lot of work with back in the day, he was recently indicted. Matter of fact, I think I texted you the morning when the charges came down, when they arrested him. Well, not arrested, he was already in jail, but charged him and the 2 other guys with the murder of Whitey Bulger, who we mentioned earlier. And you were on Scott Bernstein's podcast. Shout out to him and Original Gangsters podcast. And you made a very interesting point.
Good dude.
Yeah, great dude. And you made a very interesting point, and we'll wrap up with this. He was saying that, you know, it was kind of funny how they brought Bulger there and then, you know, all of a sudden he got killed. And I got to be honest, I kind of thought that too. It was like, well, was that a setup? But you made a great point on his show, and I encourage all our listeners to go check that show out. I think you've got 2 with him on their podcast, but the more recent one, you said, you know, look, if he hadn't have screwed up at the prison he was at before, then they never would have transferred him to where he went, and he never would have got killed. So it may have been just a little dumb luck. I'm sure it was a little bit of maybe not so much knowledge about who he was and where he was going and the people that were in the prison along with him. But you made an excellent point that if he hadn't have fucked up at the prison he was at to start with, he never would have got transferred to begin with. Yeah,
I agree with that. And, you know, it just happened to be the way everything falls into, he got shipped there. There happened to be, there's violent Boston guys, Massachusetts guys, and all the prisons. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he could have got shipped in, you know, Lewisburg or somewhere else, and there was guys there, you know. The problem was they didn't catch it in time, and he got murdered. You know, the next day, somebody probably would have caught that, and they would have locked the place down and got him out of there. And that's my take on it. You know, if they wanted to murder him because he knows more about FBI, the guys that he know about are all probably dead or just about dead.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so can he get a couple guys in trouble more? Maybe, but they're retired.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, how much does he really know more? He probably does have a lot of other FBI agents and law enforcement, you know, just like every city does. I mean, he's getting a lot of slack and everything like that. You go to other big cities, all this shit goes on all the time, just that it's not as big as this.
Right.
You know, that's just how it works in life, you know.
It was fucking crazy how they kept him in the hole, what, for three years almost, or was it 4 years in the hole?
That's not really crazy though. I mean, there was a murder investigation.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. That's normal for that long though, because his family was pressing to get him out.
Yeah, because he wanted to walk the compound, but that, in a federal prison, they'll lock you down. If you hurt somebody in a fight, you go to hole. You might go to hole for a year. Just a regular assault. On a murder like that, the guy was butchered, and I heard that he didn't get as bad as. From what I'm hearing all kinds of stories now. They didn't even. I don't know. I heard stories that it wasn't as bad as it was, as far as with the eyes and everything. But anyways, that's gonna all come out. We'll see. But yeah, murder. So it's like they're doing their investigation. The brother beat up a guard in when we were young. He did 4 years in the hole just for beating the guard up.
Wow. That's Ty you're talking about?
Yeah. I mean, everyone says like charge him or charge him. Listen, that was a fucking murder of a high profile old man that was a notorious gangster. I mean,
yeah. Well, I mean, I guess looking at it that way, it does make a little sense. I think you just think somebody being in the hole for that long, is excessive, but I guess it is still an active investigation. So I guess it does make sense. And, you shed light on that. You shedded it on, the transfer of the thing to begin with, and it all made sense. And that's why I tell people, a lot of times, and this goes for anything, don't just assume something when you read it, do a little bit more research the best you can. I know you can't trust everything that's printed out there. And it's hard. It's hard for, guys like me doing these interviews, because I can't believe every single article I come across. But
no.
I want to thank you for coming on the show, man. Do you have any other projects or anything you're working on you want to push real quick, or anything that you got coming down the line?
Yeah. So thanks for having me, Wade. I got, obviously my social media, Instagram is my name, Anthony Arillotta, Facebook and all that. I got a book coming out. The rough draft is done. Author Joe Bradley wrote it. And it's going to be starting to hit publications in December. There was a huge podcast that they came out with in our area. A lot of people would like this because it was the prosecutors that handled the case in the whole case of ours.
Mm-hmm.
And so out of the Southern District of New York. So they're with some big time Vox Studios and Viacom Entertainment.
Yeah.
So they did a 7-part series about our whole area with ex-FBI agents, ex-state troopers, newspaper reporters, and me. I gave them an in-depth, like we're doing an interview here, but I gave them like 50 times more of things that transpired. So it was supposed to come out in October, the first week. It's not going to come out until after Thanksgiving, the first week after Thanksgiving, as of right now. But that's going to be really good. It's a podcast. It's going to be audio, not audio. I mean, it's going to be audio, not audio and video.
Okay.
And they think it's going to be something afterwards, get picked up afterwards because of the connections that they got. The guy that's doing it was Ellie Honig. He was the modern day Elliot Ness, they called him.
Okay.
Mob buster. You know what I'm saying? So it was pretty interesting. Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, definitely go follow his social medias, folks. Keep your eyes peeled for that. I'm sure it'll be great. Again, I want to thank you for coming on the show, and I want to tell everybody when that book comes out, I'm going to grab me a copy, because you've got a lot of stories, man. I tried to cram pack as much as I could into this hour. But there's a whole lot more to be told. And maybe if you have some free time later on down the road, we can have you back on. But again, I want to say, I really thank you for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Wade. Good luck with your show, and you do a good job. I like your show.
Thank you, my friend.
All right. You have a good night.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Hollywood Wade. That was Anthony Arillotta, and unfortunately, we are out of time. Tune in next week for an all-new episode of Crime and Entertainment. Anthony, we appreciate it, my friend.
Yeah, you have a good one.
You too.